Wednesday show. Wednesday show. I don't know if you can hear me, but what? No, wait. I can't even sing right. I can never sing right. You guys have heard me sing before. I'm a terrible singer. Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing out there? Hopefully, everyone's doing pretty darn well out there. This is a fine evening. We were still waiting for some people to log on here, but maybe right now, for those people who are watching later on, right now it just says a 0 right up here, but that usually changes within the first 30 seconds, but not today. So maybe today I'm going to be all by myself. Don't want to be. Oh no, there we go. It's popping up. We got people who are watching now. Hello. How's everyone doing? Hello there. General Kenobi. What are the three music of Tiana's by, like, the three musical acts or the three musical songs? Because we do have musical songs. But we got like the Bobcat Bayou Band. And I'm drawing a blank of the other two names right now off the top of my head. Hello. With the wave. So today we're going to be going through, I don't know if we're going to continue our bracket series tonight. We are going to have it so it is up to you guys to decide what we're going to be going through and doing our episode about tonight. I'm going to give you guys three options. With one of the options being you guys sit there and watch me write for the next hour. Because this book is so close to being complete. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to have another book in this series complete, another Closer Look book coming out sometime very near future. We're getting so close, people. Like, I cannot even explain how close we're getting. But the three ideas are not watching me write, although I think that would be really funny. The three options that we're going to give you today is, number one, Dinoland USA, just because I was up till about 4:45 last night writing about Dinoland USA. Then I woke up around 11 and continued to write about Dinoland USA until about 3:30 when I went to the park. So it's fresh in my mind, and I like the idea that it's fresh in my mind. In addition to that, we can have it so we continue our bracket series, which is also always a lot of fun. Or number three, just because I'm in a playful mood, a game of Connect the Dots. So I'm going to do my intro. We are going to go to the vote after we do the intro, but sit there for the next minute or two and think about it. We are going to start the 796. We are 4 episodes away from number 800. That's crazy. We're going to start the 796th episode of The Wednesday Show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 796th episode of The Wednesday Show. Today is November 20th, 2024, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Today we're going to be going to you guys to figure out what we're going to have tonight's episode going to be about. If you are just joining us, our three options for voting are going to be Dinoland USA, a game of Connect the Dots, or continuing our bracket series. But of course, before we get to any of that, let's talk about our news for the week. First off, thank you everyone out there who's been joining us for our Saturday in the Park. If you didn't already know, every single Saturday we do a live broadcast from someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. You never know where we are going to be coming to you from, but I promise you we will always be coming to you live from Disney. This past Saturday we came live from, where did we even come live from? Oh, we did one man stream last Saturday. This coming up Saturday, I have no idea which park I am going to, but we will be coming to you live from Disney. So make sure you join us every single Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And also, if you're one of those people out there right now who's watching and you're thinking, I don't know who on earth this guy is, but I kind of want to maybe watch a few more of his videos. Well, guess what? You're in luck, because you can subscribe to this channel. We are currently at 8,159 subscribers. That's right. We are one away from 8,160, which is not, that big of an impressive number, but it will cause it so when you're watching on YouTube, it will say 8.16K instead of 8.15K. So that's a pretty cool thing. Um, and as always, if we get more subscribers as we go through here tonight, we will go into some extra innings as well. So send your friends, send your neighbors, send your coworkers, send anyone and everyone. That's all I ask. Okay. And of course, as always, tonight's episode is sponsored by our Patreon pals. That was a weak one. Thank you to our Patreon pals. If you're one of our Patreon pals watching the chat room right now, give us an oh yeah. And let's watch the oh yes come in. All right. So for those of you guys who are just joining us right now, because it looks like we do have a few people who are joining us right now, we are giving you guys 3 options to possibly have it. So our topic for tonight is going to be either, there's one of our OES, either continuing our bracket series, playing the game of Connect the Dots, or just because it's extremely fresh in my mind and I kind of want to hold on to there's another one of the OES, just because I kind of want to hold on to what I've been working on, an episode about Dino Land USA. So we are going to give you guys about, let's say 30 more seconds to throw your votes in. We do have a few votes in the comments already, but if anyone out there has, not voted yet and you want to vote for, right now, it looks like we're going to either do the bracket series or Dino Land USA. They are both tied right now. So our next vote, let's just say our next vote to come in will be our tie-breaking vote. It's either going to be continuing our bracket series or going to Dino Land USA, or we will just simply flip a coin. Ashley says Dino Land USA it is. Okay, let's do this. So first off, before we get into this, by the way, I'm positive that this was not just like Alex saying like, hey, there's another vote here. But we will do Dino Land USA, and I actually really think that we should do a Dino Land USA episode because there's a lot to talk about for Dino Land USA, and we haven't done too much of a deep dive about the area in recent times. Plus, we can talk about the book. You guys can start throwing any questions about either Dino Land USA or the brand new Dino Land book that is going to be coming out sometime in the near future in the comments as we go through here as well, and I will answer any and all questions. Unless you are like one of my friends who called me the other day and said, listen, I like Dino Land, but I don't love Dino Land, and you need to stop going to Dino Land all the time, which I understand if that's why some people are saying, maybe we should do the bracket series. I get it. But at the same time, let's talk about Dino Land USA tonight. Okay. And also, as a reward for sticking through our Dino Land episode tonight, next week, we will come live from the Magic Kingdom for our episode. Does that sound like a fair trade-off? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I don't know who said that, but okay. Okay, let's talk about Dino Land USA. Let's talk about the book. Let's talk about a whole lot of things when it comes to Dino Land USA. By the way, I am currently charging my watch during the episode, so that is why it is there. Let's start us off right here. What is the purpose of Dino-Rama? Does it have a connection to the ride Dinosaur? Oh my gosh, yes. So I said this in one of my YouTube videos, literally like 3 or 4 days ago. I posted a video about the progress of the Dino Land book. And in this video, I said the thing that is so unique about Dino Land USA is the fact that Dino Land USA is the only land, as far as I can tell, in Walt Disney World. There's other lands that, like Cars Land, but even that one doesn't do it as in detail as Dino Land USA. It is the only land from start to finish where every single part of the land is connected into one massive storyline. And if you go to Dino-Rama, Dino-Rama has connections to Dinosaur. It also has connections to Restaurantosaurus. It also has connections to the Boneyard. And the Boneyard has connections to Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures, which has connections to Dino Zoo, which has everything is connected, and every single part of the story exists because the other parts of the story exist as well. So let's start us off by talking a little bit about the history of Dino Land USA. This is amazingly enough, the second land at Disney's Animal Kingdom that is closing down, that was an opening day land. The first one being Camp Mini Mickey, which is kind of crazy to me that there are two lands. When you think about all of the other parks, there really has never been two lands to shut down. I guess maybe Studios. Studios is like a completely different park than what it was when it first opened up, but that's completely besides the point. So when the Imagineers were planning Disney's Animal Kingdom, they had a few very concrete ideas that they wanted. They wanted to have it so there's going to be the central area, which would become Discovery Island. They wanted to have it so there's going to be an entire themed area around Africa where you would have an amazing, elaborate safari that would take you to go visit actual animals like giraffes and elephants and, cheetahs, etc., etc., etc. And you would actually be able to see them in their natural living habitats. In addition to Africa, they had plans for an Asia section, which would not actually open up until 1999. That's besides the point. And then the other two lands that they really wanted to do was one, the long fabled, the often talked about, but never existing Beastly Kingdom, which was going to be the area where Camp Mini Mickey was. When that idea did not come around, they decided to put Camp Mini Mickey in its place as a temporary land while they figured out what to do with the land. Obviously, eventually it would become Pandora. The other land that they had from the very start was Dino Land USA. Now, the idea of Dino Land USA was to kind of connect all of the different types of animals around the world together. Because yes, you've got living animals over in Africa, you've got living animals in Asia. Over in what Beastly Kingdom would have been, you would have had mythological animals. And then over in Dino Land USA, you would have extinct animals. Animals like dinosaurs or Styracosauruses or Styracosauruses or Styracosauruses or, hey, guess what? Styracosauruses. We're going to talk about Styracosaurus a lot in the book. We'll mention a little bit tonight, but we're not going to give away all the secrets of the book tonight because, well, you got to read the book. It's just that simple. So, when they were coming up with the idea for Dino Land USA, the main ingredients that they had for the land was one, you want to make it fun, but you also want to make it educational. And so the Imagineer said, what are two ways that we can make a land fun, but we can also make it educational? So they started to kind of do a dig deep, like, excavating dinosaurs. They started to dig deep on what the two types of dinosaur cliches were in America, especially back in like the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. And the one they came around with was one, dinosaurs, educational. Everyone loves to learn about dinosaurs. They want to hear about Tyrannosaurus rexes or Triceratops or Brontosaurus or pterodactyls, etc., etc., etc. People just love it, especially little kids. And there's the second side of dinosaurs that most people have seen if they've gone on places like Route 66 or just simply driving around, a country road in the middle of Wisconsin or the middle of Illinois or the middle of nowhere, USA. And you come across these massive dinosaur figures that draw people in to get pictures of. And while they're there, they might as well, get some gas, go to a gift shop, etc., etc., etc. So Disney said, what we can do is we can combine this educational portion and this kind of crazy, zany side of dinosaurs, merge those two together, put it into a massive storyline. And with this massive storyline, we will have one of the most elaborate, one of the most detailed, one of the most story-driven lands that we've ever created. And at that point, it was hands down the most story-driven land of all time, which gets us to our question. What is the purpose of Dino-Rama? And does it have a connection to the ride Dinosaur? Yes. Yes, it does. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the backstory of Dino Land USA when it comes to Dino-Rama and Dinosaur and all of the other different things combined. Because when they wanted to go through and have it so we had the zany side of like roadside attractions, and we also want to have this education side, they decided to divide the entire land into two different sections. One of them would be focused all around the Dino Institute. The other side would be focused all around Chester and Hester. And with these two storylines, they would come together and create one of the most elaborate stories that we would ever hear. So let's go through and talk about the storyline and how these two things actually connect to one another. Because if it was not for these two connections, we wouldn't have this amazing land and this amazing backstory. So as the story goes, back in 1947, there were 2 locations and 2 locations only that were going to be found in this small little fishing village. There was a fishing lodge where people could come and stay overnight, and they would be able to go out in the lake that was nearby and do some fishing. And there was, of course, a gas station owned by local residents Chester and Hester. Now, these were the only 2 things that were in the area, and the area was not very well known. That is until in 1947, one day, there was a group of friends who went out fishing from the fishing lodge, and one of them started to kind of dig a little hole while they were bored trying to catch fish. And they couldn't catch any fish. And while he was digging this hole, he captured none other than a dinosaur bone. I guess you don't capture a dinosaur bone, but he found a dinosaur bone when he was digging deep enough. And so when he came across this dinosaur bone, he said, voila, I found a dinosaur bone. No, he went back to the fishing lodge and he was like, you guys are never going to believe what we found. We found this massive dinosaur bone out there. So they contacted some different people. The people contacted the paleontologists, and all of a sudden a few groups of paleontologists came to this area because they specifically wanted to learn a little bit about dinosaur bones. So when they were coming out there and trying to figure out all about dinosaur bones, they started to do more and more research. And while they were doing more and more research, they realized that this was not just one dinosaur bone, but this was an entire city of dinosaur bones that were out here. So they pretty much took over the fishing lodge and continued to sleep there night after night after night, becoming permanent residents or permanent clients of the fishing lodge. This eventually would lead to the fishing lodge people saying, you know what, we're getting really sick of you guys being here, and maybe we'll just sell you the fishing lodge and you can have it so it's your headquarters. Well, all this stuff was going on right down the street over on 498, which is the road over there. Over on 498, we had 2 other people, Chester and Hester, that owned the gas station. Now, while all this stuff is going on, more and more people are starting to come to the area because all they want to do is go see these dinosaur bones. Because dinosaur bones back in 1947 were a pretty big deal because not many dinosaur bones had been discovered at that point. They were getting to be well known, but they weren't getting to be like, a huge spectacle. You could go to a few museums to see them, but you couldn't go to every museum in America and see dinosaur bones. So one way for people to go see them is by going to the location where a dig site is happening. So all these people started to come, and Chester and Hester said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start to have it so we sell dinosaur items inside of our shop. So while they're going through and actually having it so these different people are coming inside the shop and buying gasoline, they're also starting to buy different merchandise items all related to dinosaurs. So they start to make a little bit of extra money on the side. While all of this is going on back over at the fishing lodge, the fishing lodge decides that they're going to open up a completely new section of the lodge dedicated specifically to people studying dinosaurs, aka paleontology, but that's not exactly what's going on right here. So they open up a brand new thing called the Dino Institute. It's an amazing place, and they've got a great beneficiary who gives them tons of money so they can continue to work in this restaurant, or not. I take it back. It's not a restaurant yet. We're going to get to why it's a restaurant in just a few minutes here. But they decided to have it so they will open up the spot, and they will have a little restaurant that is attached to it as well. So these 2 things are going hand in hand, and people are still going over to Chester and Hester's and having it so they're buying merchandise over there because there's not that much merchandise that is being sold over at the local Dino Institute or the original Dino Institute. Now, as this is going on, more and more people are coming out to study paleontology, and the Dino Institute starts to open up new programs for them to have different college students come in and be, like grad students that would actually go out there and dig and get their master's in paleontology. So they started to have more and more people going through there. And while those more and more people are coming through, they start to have it so there's more and more opportunities for growth at the Dino Institute. So in 1978, April 22nd, 1978 to be exact, they decided what they're going to do is open up a brand new Dino Institute. It's going to cost more money, but it's going to be a lot nicer. It's going to have more fossils, and there's going to be a lot more opportunities for people to learn about dinosaurs, to experience things about dinosaurs, and maybe, just maybe, in the future, there will be a little bit more growth as well. So while all this stuff is going on, Chester and Hester say, you know what? We know how we're going to make some more money. We have this parking lot that's across the way. Now, more and more people are coming to their parking lot, parking there, and they are charging them parking fees to go over to the local Dino Institute, because the Dino Institute does not have a parking lot nearby. So people are starting to pay Chester and Hester to go through and park in their parking lot. So Chester and Hester are making more money. The Dino Institute's getting more business. And Chester and Hester said, you know what we can do? We've got this massive parking lot. Why don't we make a little bit more money out of it? So what do? Of course, they create a brand new festival called the Chester and Hester's Dino-Rama. And that is how Chester and Hester's Dino-Rama works. But we're not completely at that connection yet. This is a great question, by the way. Keep on throwing your questions to the thing, because right now I only see one other question. And yeah, I like the questions. So keep the questions coming. So while they're going through and building the Dino-Rama, more and more people are starting to go to their little carnival area instead of going to the Dino Institute. So the Dino Institute starts to fail, and the Dino Institute needs to have it so they can create more revenue as well. So what do? They hire a brand new director named Dr. Helen Marsh. Dr. Helen Marsh teams up with a group in Arizona who is working on a brand new way to transport people through space and time to the age of the dinosaurs. So when they come in, they create something amazing called the Time Rover, a wonderful machine that literally transports you to the days of the dinosaurs. And while they go through and transport people through, they start to get a huge surge in revenue, which of course makes Chester and Hester realize, well, if they're making more money, there's a way for us to make more money too. So what they do is they build another parking lot to have it so they can have even more money coming in. And then what they do is they convert more of their original parking lot, aka Chester and Hester's Dino-Rama, into a bigger fairground, because something crazy happens over at the Dino Institute that starts to get all around the area that people are wondering, why on earth is this happening? But it's a really good story. So there was this intern that's working over the Dino Institute, or not an intern, I'm sorry, he was a paleontologist. This paleontologist is working over there. His name is Dr. Grant Seeker, and he decides that he's going to go back to the age of the dinosaurs and learn all about an iguanodon, because he's pretty certain that they are the key to understanding all of dinosaurs. So he takes them during a trip. He goes back into current times, and he gets in massive trouble because he wasn't supposed to do that. So he decides what he's going to do is send a group of just, regular passengers back in time. And when they go back in time, they can find this iguanodon. They can bring it back to current days. He can study it, and he can have all of the answers that anyone's ever had about dinosaurs unlocked forever. So he does this, and chaos ensues, because instead of going to the early Cretaceous period, he sends them to the late Cretaceous period, just before the asteroid impacts the Earth, creating the KT boundary. We're going to get to the KT boundary later on, or you can get to it in the book. I don't know if we're going to talk about it tonight, but that's besides the point. So while he's going through and having it so he goes through this, all of the people in the area start to learn the story about this mishap. So Chester and Hester are thinking, well, you know what? People who would want to go back in time may not have the money to go back in time, because going back in time at the Dino Institute costs a whole lot of money. But people who go to a carnival are still going to pay the price, even if they can't afford the bigger thing. So what they decide to do is they are going to create a brand new attraction that is completely based off the story that happened with Dr. Grant Seeker. So that is how the story of Primeval World came around, is if you would ever go on Primeval World when it was still around, may it rest in peace. But when it was around, you would actually go through the exact same storyline of what would happen in the attraction Dinosaur. So all of a sudden, all these different pieces are starting to come together. And while all the different pieces are coming together, there's so much more to even talk about. And that's why I am writing a book about it. So, okay, let's get to our next question here. Are any of the dinosaur bones real? Yes. Next question. No, let's talk a little bit about the real bones that are found in Dino Land, USA. Actually, there is quite a few different dinosaur bones that can be found in Dino Land, USA, that are completely authentic, completely real. If you go and touch them, you are literally touching a dinosaur. However, the Imagineers have planned this out, and they made it sure that the ones that are real are ones that you cannot touch. So let's talk a little bit about the dinosaur bones that are authentic and the fossils that are authentic as well. So first off, everything in the boneyard is completely realistically created, but it's not real bones inside the boneyard. All the boneyard bones, completely fake. They look nice, they look real, but none of them are actually real bones. But if you go over to Restaurantosaurus, there are multiple bones there that are completely real bones. Let's talk a little bit about all of them. So while you are over there in Restaurantosaurus, if you enter into the main entrance, you take a left and you go into the room that originally was the Dino Institute. If you look up at the rafters, there is one rafter that has like a projection screen, and then the other rafter that is found on the back portion of the room, you can find a projector that is facing toward the projector screen, along with a massive dinosaur head. And it just looks like, okay, like, well done, Disney. You made a replica of a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex head and you place it up in the rafters. Pretty cool. But they didn't make this. This is actually a real dinosaur bone that is up there. Like, that is the largest dinosaur fossil you can find in Dinoland, USA. And you can't touch it. You can see it, but you can't touch it. And it drives me crazy that you can't jump up. Well, maybe you could jump up there and touch it. I don't know. You have to be like a really good jumper. Like, I can jump a solid 2 to 3 inches, and I would need at least 4 to 5 feet to touch it. So those 2 to 3 inches, let me tell you, you're soaring like an eagle. So in addition to that, if you go into the back area of Restaurantosaurus, the area where we have the Restaurantosaurus pub, or the watering hole, or the whatever you want to call it, there are a few different tents back there. There's a tent that is a dining room. There's a tent where it's a bar. And in between those two tents, there is a bunch of little grates, like Tony the Tiger. That's great. And if you look inside those grates, you can find a bunch of different dinosaur bones in there. And yes, they are all disguised to look like they are fake, but in reality, every single one of them that is found inside there is a completely real and authentic fossil. In addition to those ones, if you go over to the attraction dinosaur while you're going through the queue, both in the first area, when you enter into the first area on the right-hand side, you've got a few different exhibits that are behind cases. And then if you continue going straight, you'll find another 3 little panels with cases. And then you'll turn the corner and you'll find yet another case. And then when you enter into the room with the Carnotaurus, you'll find 4 glass windows. Every single thing that's behind glass in these things is 100% real. It is all actually authentic dinosaur bones or dinosaur fossils, or in a few situations, which I think is really cool, asteroids remains that they actually were able to find at different dig sites while going through and trying to excavate different dinosaurs. So there are multiple places where you can actually find real dinosaur bones, but another one, actually, you know what? I said earlier that the head of the Tyrannosaurus Rex is probably the biggest one. I was wrong. That's not. When you're going through the gift shop of the Dino Institute gift shop is actually the name of it. When you're in the Dino Institute gift shop, above you there is a giant turtle skeleton. This is an actual skeleton from the late Cretaceous period. So that actually used to be found over at Dinosaur Jubilee. Now, for those of you guys who are like, well, what on earth is Dinosaur Jubilee? Well, I'm glad that you asked me in that really weird accent, or that really weird voice. Let's see here. Any of these maps have Dinosaur Jubilee on it? This one probably does. This map is labeled Dinosaur, but in reality, it was called Dinosaur that way. Yeah, this one has it. Oh, yeah. Letter S on the map. Dinosaur Jubilee. Explore the dino world and see cast of spectacular real skeletons. What? So as you can see, that is located at the home of what is now Chester and Hester's Dinorama. Prior to that, it was nothing. It was just, completely empty. The Dinosaur Jubilee did open up with Disney's Animal Kingdom when the park first opened up on October 22nd, 1998, but it was always planned to be a temporary land. So the idea always was going to have it so you would be able to go there and you'd be able to interact with actual paleontologists. They would be able to show you actual fossils. And then at the end of this entire thing, when they were finally putting up Chester and Hester's Dinorama, which was the original plan, but they just needed something to, kind of hold it in place or keep that land in place and keep people occupied while they're in Dinoland USA. When they closed that up, all the paleontologists were sent to their homes. They were there forever. No, they weren't there forever. But all the paleontologists were sent back to wherever they came from, and then all the dinosaur bones were given to different museums around the country, with the exception of the skeleton or the fossil of the turtle that is found above you in the Dino Institute gift shop. That one was just moved over to this area. Yeah. Hello and good evening from Tap Vanta Crew. All right, so for those of you guys who are just joining us, we have a lot of people who just joined us. We are doing an episode about Dinoland USA. We're answering your questions. We're doing some fun facts, history, all that other fun stuff. No one's asked about the book yet either, so keep on throwing your questions out there. If you have any questions about the book too, feel free to throw those questions out there. Part of me is really terrified that this book is going to fail miserably, and I just spent the last year of my life writing it. But if that's what happens, that's what happens. All right. Also, was Donald's Dino Bash part of the story or just a temporary permanent party, even though Donald was a duck since he's a tune and relates to dinosaurs? Okay. This is a good question, too. So, Donald's Dino Bash occurred. Okay. Donald's Dino Bash started in 2018, I want to say. Or is it 19? Or 17. I don't know. Right now, I've got so many dates thrown in my head that I'm not exactly positive on the year. I'll have to read my book to figure it out. But when they created Donald's Dino Bash, that was because in the real world outside of Disney, which I'm shocked that there actually is a real world outside of Disney, but in the actual world, paleontologists, like actual real paleontologists, started to put together that they believed that almost every dinosaur actually had feathers, like a bird. So when they started to do this studies, they started to realize that not only was it like a bird, but there's a very high chance that ducks were a very, very, very distinct and far down the line descendant of dinosaurs. So when that happened, Disney said, okay, let's jump on that train because that's actually a fascinating fun fact that's completely authentic. So maybe, just maybe, we can have it so we do a celebration of dinosaurs that deals with Donald Duck. So they decided to bring in these characters. They decided to bring in Donald Duck, Scrooge McDuck, Launchpad McQuack, and then a few other fun friends to go through and create a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for people to go and learn about dinosaurs, but also have it so they can still see Disney characters as well. So Donald's Dino Bash, a lot of people have asked me about this actually in recent years, ever since I started talking about writing this book. But while they were going through and trying to figure out Donald's Dino Bash, they said it's going to be a temporary thing. And then I think it was so popular, even though there's not a whole lot in Donald's Dino Bash that it's completely associated with Donald Duck, with the exception of the character meet and greets. But the character meet and greets became such a huge thing that they just said, you know what, let's just keep Donald's Dino Bash around year round and just have it so it's just a permanent fixture. So that's why you can still meet Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, and then Goofy and Pluto joined in on the fun, and Chip and Dale joined in the fun as well. We had Launchpad McQuack along with Scrooge McDuck there for a while, but unfortunately, they are no longer part of it. Boo. Which is too bad because I love Scrooge McDuck, and seeing Scrooge McDuck in the land all the time was a really cool thing to see. Okay, anyone else out there have any questions? Otherwise, we'll just start freeballing it. And you don't want to see that. So right now, to give you a little book update, here, you know what? Let's do it this way. I am currently pulling up the book. I told a few people, I was like, I think tonight I'm just gonna write my book while people look at me. Okay, so we got the acknowledgement section done. The introduction is done. The story is done. Should we do the? This is the first draft of the introduction. Should we read the first draft of the introduction? I think we should do that. Unless there's a question out there. If there's no question, let's go through. Introduction. This is the introduction of A Closer Look. This is my first time, I think, showing this with anyone. So, introduction. My first visit to Disney's Animal Kingdom occurred a few months after the park opened. I was a freshman in high school, and I remember that I had to stay in Wisconsin for a few extra days to finish an exam while my parents and little brother Tyler made their way down to Disney 2 days before me as I stayed home with my grandpa. While he drove me to the airport, I pointed out how jealous I was that they were going to visit Disney's Animal Kingdom before I had a chance. When I arrived in Florida, my parents picked me up with my little brother, and the first thing they wanted to show me was a picture that they had purchased from Countdown to Extinction, now known as Dinosaur. In the picture, my brother and aunt, who had driven up to join them, looked terrified, and my anticipation of going to the park was amplified. Display my eagerness to ride Kilimanjaro Safari. After seeing the picture, I knew that Countdown to Extinction was the ride I must do first. When we first entered the park, most of the crowd headed towards Africa, while my family made our way to Dinoland, USA. Besides seeing the Tree of Life, Dinoland, USA would be my first introduction to Disney's Animal Kingdom, and it is one that has stuck with me for the past 25 years. When I first stepped foot into the land, I was amazed by all the detail, but it wouldn't be until my later move to Florida that I would truly realize the amount of detail and story that had been poured into this very often overlooked land. It quickly became my favorite land to talk about with my friends. They would often point out that it was a poorly put together land, to which I would respond that they clearly didn't know the amazing backstory and details that had been placed into the land. A few of my friends now have joined me in saying it is one of their favorite lands that Disney has ever created, and it has always been in the top 3 lands that I wanted to write a book about to bring a little more appreciation to the land, but I had a list of other books that that would be put ahead of it. Wait, let me get a drink real quick. On September 9th, 2023, Disney would announce during the D23 Destination D event at Contemporary Resort that the land would be replaced with an Americans-themed land inspired by films like Encanto and Indiana Jones. The land that I had loved and was going away, and I was gutted, so I immediately went to Disney's Animal Kingdom after the announcement to soak in the glory that is Dinoland, USA. Literally, they made the announcement, and I left this condo, walked straight to my car, and drove straight to Dinoland, USA, or to Animal Kingdom. Then I walked it then. While walking through the land for hours, I started to debate with myself on whether it would be a good idea to write a book about Dinoland, USA, now while postponing other projects, or if I would someday write a book about a land that just no longer existed. While walking through the Chester and Hester gift shop and taking a look at the amount of detail inside that I knew I would never be able to fully capture if I wrote the book after the land was gone, I made my decision. My first book dedicated to a land in Disney's Animal Kingdom would be a reality and would be written while I still had the chance to embrace all the details. Without any further delay, let us take a closer look at Disney's Animal Kingdom's Dinoland, USA. That's the introduction of the book, which I've never read before at all to anyone, which is crazy. So there you go. Let's go through. We're going to go through a few more questions here, and then if you guys have any more questions, otherwise we will talk a little bit more about the book here as well. Was there any references to pop culture or Easter eggs in the land? So there is currently a few different pop culture references to things. Well, okay, so there's actually a lot of different references to famous dinosaur movies or comic books. So, for instance, if you go over to Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures, inside of that shop, you can find several different things on the wall, and there are different comic books. And if you look at those comic books, it's things like Spider-Man, but it's like Spider-Man against dinosaur. You got things like Devil Dinosaur, which is a Marvel comic, and it's, Devil Dinosaur before he had Moon Girl as his sidekick, which now, if you watch, the Disney Channel, they do have a animated series called Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, but this was before Moon Girl even was a thing. In addition to that, we have several other comic books that are just not very well known, like Troku or Grogu. Not Grogu, that's the Mandalorian's kid. Gorgo is the other one. So there's lots of different comic books that you can find there. When you are over in Restaurantosaurus, you can find different movie posters for things like Godzilla. There's one that's for Godzilla, or it's for a Godzilla film that only came out in France and nowhere else, and never came out in America. But there is a French poster for Godzilla on one of the walls, which I think is one of the coolest things in the world. In addition to that, there are several different hidden Mickeys found throughout the land. Just a few to note right now off the top of my head that I can think of off the top of my head. There is, in the queue line for Dinosaur on the right-hand side, there's a display of different characters. If you look at the tree branch on the far left-hand side, coming out of the tree branch, or out of the tree trunk, by the branch, you can actually find a hidden Mickey carved onto the tree. It's a painting, so it's not really a carving. In addition to that, you can find a hidden Mickey in Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures. It is facing towards the inside of the store, and it's found on the soda machine. It's actually made out of rust. And then if you go inside of Restaurantosaurus, inside the room, if you enter in and take a right, on the right-hand side, you'll see the soda machines, and at the top left side of the soda machines, you can actually find a hidden Donald. So overall, lots of really cool things. Hey, Robert. Bravo. Very good beginning. Thank you. Keep on throwing the questions out there. We're talking about Dinoland USA for the people who are just joining us. We had like 4 people watching this whole time, and now all of a sudden it just popped up like crazy. Was Donald's Breakfastosaurus a buffet? I remember eating there, but I can't remember if it was buffet. Yeah, so it was like a buffet situation where you could go through. You know what? Let's just do this. Okay. Some of your questions are going to be answered by just reading from the book. Okay, let's see here. History of Restaurantosaurus. In 1996, Disney signed a deal with McDonald's for a 10-year agreement, which would allow McDonald's to create toys for their Happy Meals based off the current Disney films that would be released at that time. In addition to that, McDonald's food would be featured at different locations in all of the Walt Disney World theme parks, with the biggest part of the deal consisting of McDonald's sponsoring an entire land. That land, of course, was Dinoland USA, with Restaurantosaurus being their food location found inside Disney's Animal Kingdom. With the partnership in place, it was also decided that due to the zany nature of Dinoland USA, it would be the perfect location for a character meal to take place inside the park. With that decision made, every morning Restaurantosaurus became home to Donald's Breakfastosaurus, where guests could eat at an all-you-can-eat buffet while Donald, Mickey, Goofy, and Pluto would stop by the tables. During lunch, the restaurant would transform into a quick-service location featuring McDonald's food. Disney's partnership with McDonald's would end in 2008. When this happened, Donald's Breakfastosaurus would also close, causing Donald, Mickey, Goofy, and Pluto to make the trek across the park to start character dining in Tusker House instead. The restaurant would go through a few minor changes after the end of the partnership, but overall, the restaurant has had the same look and feel since it first opened with the park on April 22nd, 1998. There you go. You guys are getting some big previews for the book right now. How did the name Dinoland USA come to be? Keep on throwing those questions in there. It looks like right now this might be our final question, but we still have a lot more time. Also, we're still missing some subscribers, so send over some people and we can go into extra innings here as well. How did I name Dinoland USA? So the main way that Dinoland USA came to be is just simply, it's about dinos. No, so the other sections of the park were going to be very basic names. Africa, Asia. And so when they wanted to create the land of Dinoland USA, they wanted to have it so as one associated with a single country, which would be the USA. And then they also wanted to have it so it would tell the fact that this was a land about dinosaurs, about extinct animals. So they just came up with the idea of it was originally going to be Dinosaur USA, and then they said, well, Dino Land sounds a lot better, so they switched it over to Dino Land USA. Good questions. All right, keep on throwing your questions out there as we go through here. So yeah, there's a lot in this book. If you watched my Instagram story last night, I did show that my the word count for this book is, well, here, let me look now because I shared that before. Right now we're at 39,048 words for this. And this book right here was 33,000 words. So this book is, how long is this book? Roughly about 140 pages long, which means that this book is going to be longer. It's right now, that means it's probably around 170 pages, but it'll probably go into even more detail. So yeah, we're going through and there's a lot to cover in this book that I've gone through, but the book is it's so done. It's so close to being done. Oh, we got some good questions coming in right now. Okay, keep on throwing those questions in there because I just saw one that's going to make me very excited here. Where did the roller coaster wind up going? I forgot the name. Primeval Whirl. So Primeval Whirl went into the dumpster. So they're really, they took a few of the parts to just kind of salvage and use for other things. There was a few pieces that would have been transported over to the Walt Disney Archives, but overall, it just pretty much became all trash. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not like it's hanging out at some other Disney park right now. It's just not existing anymore. So it was there one day, and the next day it wasn't, and that was pretty much how it happened too. So it was operational until COVID happened, and then when the park shut down, it just never opened again, which is crazy that it just never opened again. Yesterday I was at, was it yesterday? 2 days ago I was at Dinoland USA, and while I was walking through, I was doing. I got so much. I literally have hours of video footage of Dinoland USA on this phone. I also have hours of video footage found on this GoPro and on this GoPro, and the other GoPro's not within reach. And then on top of that, I have memory cards upon memory cards upon memory cards. Literally, it's about 25 to 40 hours, roughly. I have no idea the exact amount of footage just on Dinoland USA. And every time I go to Dinoland USA, I'm like, okay, I just need some more footage. Even though I'm sure that I have every single inch of that entire land covered. But I keep on saying I just need to go through and cover every single possible inch, because it's not going to be around anymore. So with this current chapter that I'm working on, which is going to be Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures, I was in there the other day and I was filming a few things because there's just so much to take in there. And I was like, okay, I just want to try to make sure that if I've missed even a single inch, I can get more video footage of that single inch that I might be missing, especially now that I'm working on the thing. But while I was in there, someone went through and they said, there was a family, they're like, oh, yeah, we got to go on that roller coaster that's out here. It's like the coolest roller coaster, you're in the thing, and like it spins around. And they're like, yeah, I love that one. I'm like, it's been closed for 4 years. Like, I didn't say it. I followed them outside because I wanted to see their faces when they're like, wait a minute, where is it? But apparently they went on the last year. So, people know what they're talking about. How long does it take to print once you finish it? Okay, so this is the question that got me excited. So let's do a timeline of what lies ahead. So first off, I am been playing phone tag or message tag with the guy that not even message tag. I found out that all of the messages that I had been sending him for like the last 2 months kept on getting deleted, like, or not coming back. As like, I looked at the thing the other day, I sent him a message, and it said message not received, or message not received. Like, I sent him like 7 messages, not just about that, just about life too, because we're friends. But yeah, they're so I need to get in contact with them and get the cover done. But that is the cover of the book, and that's going to be a fairly simple one as soon as I get in contact with him and have it so he knows exactly what I want to have drawn. Or I might have to go a different route, and I'm trying to figure out what that different route would be. I have one idea in place, but I just don't know if it would fit in with what has already been done with previous book covers, because I like the idea of drawn covers. I think is a fun idea. So that's one thing. Number 2, my goal is to have it so all of the writing is in the editor's hands tomorrow before I go to bed, which is 24 hours away. So in 24 hours, in the next 24 hours, I'm going to do a lot of writing, because that is my goal. I think there's a very high chance that goal will be achieved. It might not be, but I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that is going to be achieved, because there's not a lot left to go through, but to kind of go through everything in the front of the land is done. Everything on the side of the land is done. Everything on the Dinoland Chester and Hester's Dinorama section is done. The only things that are left is Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures, which is almost done. I will finish that one tonight, most likely. I thought I was going to finish it last night. But my goal is to have it done tonight before I go to bed. And then after that, I just have to do a few little small things. things like the 498, a road sign, 2 other signs, a mile marker, the theater in the wild, and then, which that sounds like a lot of stuff now that I'm saying all of it, but it's not. And then just a few quick, like little 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph things about Dinosaur Jubilee, about Primeval World, about these things that are no longer around. So yeah, it's really close to being done. And then on top of that, we have it so right here are all edits from the editor that were sent back to just have it so I go over things one last time, rewrite, switch things up, make sure that everything sounds good. And then after that, I send it to the publisher. The publisher should get it to me fairly quickly, but my goal is within the next 4 weeks. You guys should. I got rid of the picture. The next 4 weeks. It comes down again to the printers, because the printers, I feel like they might have a lot going on with the Christmas season, but at the same time, I'm going to be working my darndest to get everything done as quickly as possible and to sleep as little as possible to get everything done as quickly as possible. So there's a few things that I really would love to do. I have some ideas of videos in my head to like promote the book in Dinoland USA. And no matter what, Restaurantosaurus and Dinosaur in the Boneyard, those chapters will be able to be enjoyed for years. Well, not years, but for a little bit longer than the rest of the land. But Dino-Rama, along with Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures, will be closing up on January 13th. So because of that, I want to get the book out before January 1st. At the latest, that's my goal, is at the latest, January 1st, so that way people can get the book, they can go to the land, and they can be like, oh, that's what he's talking about. Oh, that's what he's talking about. Oh, that doesn't make sense. No. But yeah, so it really depends. It should be pretty quick downhill motion. Not like down, like it should be pretty quick from what's going on here right now. The Brent Archives. Yes, all my video footage is like an elaborate Brent Archives. I keep on thinking about even just making a long hours and hours long video of just all my cut video footage, but I would just probably make it as a private video until I could go back and edit some people out, because there are times where I will literally be like, oh, here's this right here. And then I'll just kind of walk around like this because I'm just trying to get video footage of as much stuff as possible. And then I'll talk to myself in a lot of these videos being like, so don't forget to write down this, or, oh, don't forget the history of this thing right here is blah, 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 blah. And I'll just be talking to myself. And then later on, I'll watch some of the video footage. And I'm like, oh, that's like staring right at a stranger's face for 4 minutes. There was one video yesterday where I was looking at the stuff being like, okay, like, I want to follow this path right here while I'm in the store. And while I was going through and following that path, I was like, it looks like I'm following this guy around, even though I was so concentrated on everything else in the store. But the way that I was talking and the stuff like this, you just see like the bottom corner was like this guy's face, like right here. I'm like, oh God, now this guy probably is like, this guy's creeping after me. And he's got video footage of it. But in reality, dude, I'm just trying to get videos of the thingamajigger. Okay, let's do one more either history. Let's do a history. Someone out there name one section of Dinoland USA, and then we are going to go through and do the read through of the history of that land, or that section, not the land. Man alive. We've already done Restaurantosaurus. Maybe should we do Dinosaur? Let's do Dinosaur. Just to say, I feel like not as many people are going to go through and they're going to know dinosaur history. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm underestimating people. I forgot about the Cretaceous Trail. I mean, it's written. I just forgot that I had this long chapter about the Cretaceous Trail until I'm going through the book here. Okay, here we go. History. Wait a minute. Oh, this is a long history. Okay. You guys are getting a very, very, very intimate look at some of the book. Again, this is going to be first draft, so there might be some things that are going to be changed. But when Disney's Animal Kingdom was first greenlit, the Imagineers came up with an idea for an attraction in Dinoland, USA that would take guests on a safari-like experience, but instead of seeing animals, they would see dinosaurs. The attraction was meant to be a slow-moving attraction suitable for the entire family to enjoy. When the Imagineers pitched the idea to then CEO Michael Eisner, he immediately stated that the park would need a second signature attraction, with Kilimanjaro safaris already being planned as the most prolific attraction in the park. He encouraged the Imagineers to attempt something more thrilling that would put guests right in the middle of the action. Imagineers got to work and came up with an attraction known as Countdown to Extinction. The thrilling attraction would put guests right at the moment when meteor showers rain down from the heavens, putting an end to dinosaurs. While avoiding the meteors, the guests have to recover a specific dinosaur and bring it back to present day. The attraction was greenlit, and it had all the ingredients of becoming an instant classic. The attraction would reach some incredible milestones that had never occurred in any previous Disney attraction. The dinosaurs found within the dinosaurs found within Countdown to Extinction would not just be the largest animatronics that the Imagineers had ever built, but they would also be the heaviest, with some of the skins on the dinosaurs weighing up to 500 pounds. Due to the complexity of these animatronics, Imagineers would create the animatronics at a much smaller scale to make sure the smaller models would work with the movements that they wanted the larger models to duplicate. If they were successful, the larger animatronics were then built. While all the animatronics were being worked on for the inside of the attraction, there was another interesting problem occurring for the cast members working the attraction that actually connected back to Epcot. World of Motion, an opening day attraction at Epcot, closed down in 1996 to make way for a new attraction that was originally slated to open in 1997 called Test Track. After some technical difficulties with the attraction, the opening of the attraction was pushed back to 1998 and then would finally open in 1999. While preparation for Test Track was underway for its originally planned opening day in 1997, the costuming department made costumes for the cast members working the attraction that would fit in with the theming of Test Track. While the delays were going on to Test Track, the costuming department was also trying to figure out what the costumes for the cast members working at Dinosaurs would be. They could not land on a specific design, but the delayed opening of Test Track allowed them to rethink the original purpose of the Test Track cast member costumes, and it was decided that they would be repurposed to be the costumes for the cast members working at the Dino Institute. And in order to draw the guests towards the attraction, a pool is placed out front with a Styracosaurus standing in the center. The sole purpose of the Styracosaurus being the dinosaur of choice was due to it being Joe Rohde's favorite dinosaur. The attraction would open with Disney's Animal Kingdom on April 22nd, 1998. 2 years after the attraction opened, Disney released their first fully-length computer-animated film, Dinosaur, in May of 2000. Due to the storyline of the attraction, already featuring an iguanodon and Carnotaurus, much like the film, it was decided that the attraction would receive a few tweaks to help guests associate the attraction with the movie. First up, they would change the name of the attraction from Countdown to Extinction to the much simpler Dinosaur. In addition to that, they wanted the protagonist from the film, Elidar, to have a more noticeable role in the attraction. This resulted in a statue of Elidar replacing the Styracosaurus that originally sat in the pool of water in front of the attraction. Also, the visual of the iguanodon found in the pre-show of the attraction would be replaced by footage of Elidar directly from the film. The animatronics of the animatronic of the iguanodon had some subtle changes placed upon it to make it more obvious that it was Elidar, while the security footage at the end of the attraction would be slightly altered to include Elidar as well. Despite the subtle changes, Dinosaur, formerly Countdown to Extinction, has been in operation since the park first opened on April 22nd, 1998. And that, my friends, is just a small literally a very, very small little piece of this book. Like a very small, it seems like a lot, but it's a very, very small part of even that chapter. Because the storyline for the chapter goes into a lot of detail. The walkthrough goes through so much detail. But let's take a look here. What is our count right now? We're still at our 8,159. I need to get going and do a lot more writing. So we're going to be wrapping up this bad boy right here. As always, tonight's episode was sponsored by our wonderful, our super duper, our always amazing Patreon pals. Patreon pals. They will always remember. If you're one of our Patreon pals out there in the chat room right now, give us an oh yeah. As always, thank you everyone out there for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. I apologize if I'm completely out of it, but that's partially because I've been writing and we're going to go back to writing right now. If you are one of our Patreon pals too, because you guys do get looks at the chapters as they come out, go take a look at patreon.com/Brent Dodge, and you will potentially see the Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures chapter up in the next few hours. So watch out for that as well. As always, remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next week, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks just can't take this kind of pressure.